Selfless commitment. Qualities of a British soldier. Develop and display the qualities of a British soldier. Selfless commitment. In today's lesson, we will be looking at selfless commitment. The key learning objectives of this lesson are to understand selfless commitment, relate selfless commitment to military life, relate selfless commitment to civilian life, recognise examples of selfless commitment in military service, explore the consequences of selfish behaviour, what does the army ask us to be loyal to? What is loyalty? You are loyal to your country, you are loyal to your mates, you are loyal to the Queen, and you are loyal to your mission. What does it mean to be selfish? Selfishness is a difficulty in army life. What is selfless commitment? Possible answers include volunteering, putting oneself forward, helping other recruits with kit whilst also sorting your own kit out. What have you given up to be here? Putting others before yourself, which requires a level of sacrifice. Reminder: mission, mates, and me. How does this work here in training? Mission: you finish course and have the pass off parade. Your mates, you're also doing it together, and me by displaying selfless commitment. An example of selfless commitment could be the Brookwood Cemetery. It is the largest cemetery in the UK and includes multinational casualties from World War I, World War II, and more recent burials from Northern Ireland, Iraq and Afghanistan. What does it mean to be Jack? Examples include block jobs, not taking your turn on the stretcher whilst doing PT, letting the team down, you need to reject selfish behaviour and do all you can to work for each other. An example could be volunteering. Remember, me, mates, mission. Wrong time, wrong place, wrong kit. Examples of selfless commitment and courage.
It was just 4 days ago that these soldiers, sailors and airmen were told that they'd been chosen to receive an operational honour. For many of them here, it still hasn't sunk in yet. They're not used to being in the limelight, but now everybody wants to hear their stories. Here today, there's only a small number of the 117 military personnel who are receiving operational honours. 20 are going to the Royal Navy and Royal Marines, 84 to the Army, and 13 to the Royal Navy. Many of those recognised served with one mechanised brigade in Afghanistan, like Lance Corporal Simon Maloney. He receives one of the highest military honours, the Conspicuous Gallantry Cross, after continuing to fight during an ambush in Helmand, even after he'd been shot through the neck. It missed his vital arteries and voice box by only millimetres.
It was like being punched in the throat and I was instantly winded, like quite a painful winding. Other than that though, the adrenaline was pumping. It was more just like, right, what's going on? Am I going to die? What's it hit? What's the damage sort of thing? Because, you can't really prepare for being shot. It's just one of them things.
It was his best friend and comrade who came to give him medical assistance. He ran 400 metres of open ground, weighed down by 60 kilograms and in full sight of 2 insurgent positions. He's been honoured with the Military Cross.
Once his medical attention was that good, I didn't have to worry. I just carried on as normal.
I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I just thought, you've been shot, you're alive. And all he wanted to do was get back in. So once I'd finished doing what I did, I didn't make a big deal and say, no, you're sitting there. I said, if you want to go back in, you just do what you want.
I own one now, but you're like brothers, aren't you? Yeah, and he saved my life. Not many friends can say that.
Another medic has also been recognised and receives the Queen's Commendation for bravery. Lance Corporal Sinead Dodds was on a clearance patrol in Helmand when the Mastiff she was travelling in was hit by a vehicle-borne IED. Despite losing her hearing, being injured and left in darkness, she continued to treat the wounded.
It was so disorientating, especially because we'd been turned around and spun around. I didn't know which way was front, which way was the back, and I think I just ran off adrenaline. And then the way that medics are trained, it's drilled into you, so you know it just flows really. Your training kicks in and you just get on with it.
Still in Afghanistan, Flight Lieutenant Charles Lockyer receives the Distinguished Flying Cross for making quick and courageous decisions whilst his Chinook was under fire. His number 2 crewman, Master Aircrew Robert Sunderland, is mentioned in dispatches for his courage throughout. Although he was injured, he remained calm in order to assist the captain to safely manoeuvre the Chinook to rescue soldiers on the ground.
We were about 10 feet off the ground and trying to land, and I felt 2 rounds impact the side of the aircraft near my head, and then I felt something impact me, which knocked me to the ground. And it was a very, very unusual moment for me.
It all happens very, very quickly. We had about 5 seconds to actually make a decision about what was going on, and that's how quickly it took for us to realise actually it wasn't a viable landing due to the amount of fire that was coming in. So we made that decision very quickly. And then we also made another very quick decision about going back in to get those guys out.
But not all honours are from acts of bravery whilst on Op Herrick. Chief Petty Officer Neil Horsey receives the Queen's Commendation for bravery for his actions whilst on duty on HMS Lancaster. He received a mayday call from a civilian ship in trouble and led a team to the vessel carrying out actions that saved it from sinking.
So we went into the engine room. It took some doing to find our way around, so it was very dark. The water was up to our armpits. There's an oil layer across the top of the water and the exhaust fumes from the diesel pumps that were running, which was pumping the water out of the vessel. And we found our way around and found the hole inside of the ship.
There are many humble recipients here, all of them saying that they were just doing their job. But it's a bonus to be recognised, especially as a trip to Buckingham Palace beckons when they receive their honours for real. Laura Hawkins, Forces News, London.
Questions? Another example of selfless commitment could be the Tobias Elwood, ex-soldier and MP in the civilian world. A recent example is James Cleverly, a Member of Parliament, serving member of Army Reserve, talking about PC Keith Palmer.
James Cleverly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst our hearts go to all those people who were wounded and murdered yesterday and to all the people who sought to help them, with your indulgence, sir, I'd like to turn for just a moment to PC Keith Palmer, who I first met 25 years ago as Gunner Keith Palmer at Headquarters Battery 100 Regiment, Royal Artillery. He was a strong, professional public servant. And it was a delight to meet him here again, only a few months after being elected. Would my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, in recognition of the work that he did and the other police officers and public servants here in the House do, consider recognising his gallantry and sacrifice formally with a posthumous recognition? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I thank my honourable friend for the obvious, not just compassion, but passion with which he has spoken about an individual he knew, and he bears witness to the tremendous public service that Keith Palmer had given this country in so many ways. And having served in our armed forces and then come here to this place and paid the ultimate sacrifice here at our heart of democracy, I can assure my honourable friend that the issue that he's raised is, of course, one that will be considered in due course.
Here's a picture of PC Keith Palmer to be awarded the St George's Medal. Any questions? We can now understand selfless commitment. We can relate selfless commitment to military life. We can relate selfless commitment to civilian life. We can recognise examples of selfless commitment in military service. We can explore the consequences of selfish behaviour.
Oh, and he's starting to slow, and there is a little way to go. There's half a K to go, and Johnny is running out of time and is losing.
Here's an example of selfless commitment and
He's
loyalty.
losing his sense of direction. This is worrying. Oh, goodness me. This is a horrible sight. Jonathan Brownlee has lost it now and has staggered to a stop at the side of the course, and Alistair's stopped to help him along. And Alistair is going to try and carry his brother home. Dramatic scenes in Cozumel as the Olympic champion carries his younger brother towards the podium.
Oh my God, I cannot believe what we are seeing here, Matt. Is this allowed? Is he allowed to help his brother? You know, is that part of the rules? I'm not too sure. We've never seen anything like this before.
Unbelievable scenes. Unbelievable scenes in Cozumel. To finish in second and third, but Johnny can hardly stand. And Alistair is having to drag him across the line and pushing him home for second. Johnny finishes in second. Goodness me, what an incredible conclusion here.
That was an example of the Brownlee brothers of showing selfless commitment and loyalty. Also brotherly love, a bond between brothers.
Oh, and he's
Questions? Bringing the values and standards together. It takes all kinds of people to make us the British Army.
The saying goes that we should never judge a book by its cover, for what really matters isn't the appearance of the book, but the story inside. The truth is, when it comes to people, we often ignore this advice. Gender and age can be seen as barriers to success. There are some who are viewed solely as their religion and not as a personality. There are those who are seen by the colour of their skin rather than their abilities. And there are times when sexual orientation is suppressed through fear of judgment. It is easy to pigeonhole people by the labels we are given, but once those labels are stripped away, we soon find that maybe we aren't all so different after all. Who knows what you might discover when you break down those walls between us? When we stop labelling the person, we start to uncover their story. When we start to celebrate our diversity, we realise that any divisions are outweighed by our connections. It's our individual stories that give us our collective strength. We don't define people by their covers, we define them by their abilities. This is nothing more than what our values and standards demand. Respect for others, integrity, appropriate behaviour, and total professionalism. We are all unique and we are united. We are the British Army.
Look forward to the next lesson, which is the qualities of a British soldier summary and assessment.